Shepherds of Men is a secular movement started by three men of faith. We wholeheartedly believe that when we get the men right, we get the world right. We believe this because we believe that men are created and called to be leaders, and we believe there is an alarming deficit of leadership in our world today.
And although the three of us have come from drastically different backgrounds, our core principles have given us a unified voice that is needed now more than ever to pave the way for a fundamental change in our culture.
We are quite literally calling men to something great.
Welcome to the movement.
What's up, world? This is Wilson coming at you, bringing you the Shepherds of Men podcast. I'm always here and pleasured to be here to speak to you guys and be with my brothers at this table. I got JP.
Oh, hey. How are you guys?
He's acting like he's reading.
Right. And then Cam over here to my left.
No, damn good well you can't read.
What's up? How's it going?
And then always O in the back, making it happen. So today we're going to give you a pretty short, quick, easy podcast to listen to, talking about mental maturity and what it is, what it ain't, and how you can obtain it. And the good thing is, if you look up the mental maturity, I was looking up maturity, and maturity is just basically you grow up to your full size of an individual, and that's you met your maturity or your whatever I'm trying to say, you're full grown.
Maturation.
Yeah, right, yeah. So
Easy.
You've grown up, and that's the furthest you're going to grow.
Maybe a big word for him.
Yeah, no. Hey.
I did that earlier. Wait, no, not the same thing.
It's like
That's not match.
it's like Dumb and Dumber. He's like trying to read that. That's a big word.
What was all that 1 in a million talk?
So
Saying there's a chance.
So I was going to go with maturity, but then it's like grow. You know, age doesn't come with maturity, but it kind of does when in that sense of like you
Maturity
grow.
doesn't come with age.
Yeah, right. That's what I meant. And you do grow up and you mature to your full size, but that's it. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about that particular deal. It's more of a mental maturity because sometimes age comes, but maturity is lacking, and it's not.
Like John
with you.
Maxwell says, like sometimes age just comes alone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you look up that Webster dictionary, or you go to whatever Google device that you use or whatever, you can look it up yourself. But really, at the end of it, it just talks about clarity of mind and clarity of vision and what true life is going to be for you. And that's kind of what we want to talk about is like what is maturity to us and how you can obtain it. And so that's what we're going to talk about. So who wants to go first?
Well, I feel like Josh is more prepared since he's been over there reading. He looks very
You look like a
mature.
scholar.
He actually has pads on his elbows, not the jacket, just his actual elbows.
I used to sit like this.
They ain't ready for that yet.
Oh, they ain't ready yet. Hopefully, everybody that's listening to this haven't even seen that video.
I know, right? I know that's loser bracket clicking.
Yeah. No, I think. I'll start with a couple of points. I don't really know what direction you're wanting to head with this, but I think mental maturity sometimes means things that people don't think. I think mental maturity sometimes is knowing when to shut the fuck up, which is something that I'm learning. I'm a talker. I've always been a talker my whole life, and sometimes it gets me in trouble. Sometimes it gets me paid. Mental maturity is deciding when to exercise that skill set. As far as I'm concerned, and what I'm finding now, and a good example here, just complete transparency, is with my wife. I've really had to learn to shut the fuck up. And I'm saying that as something that I tell myself. That's what I physically say to myself.
You want to get that recorded so you listen to it over and over again.
And I do. And there's a lot of times where, there's situations where I'm a fixer. We've talked about this in the past in a relationship, and I think most men are.
Yep.
So this is probably good for 99.9% of survivors of COVID or men that are listening to this right now, is sometimes, especially with your wife, it's maybe she doesn't want you to solve her problem. She just wants you to listen. And that's not easy to do for me. It's not an easy thing for me to do, but mental maturity has been, man, every time I try to fix the problem, it gets worse because the problem doesn't need to be fixed. She doesn't want the problem fixed. She wants to fix the problem. She just wants you to listen to her complain about the problem. So my role there, as I started to mature through the maturation process, is like, hey, dude, sometimes it's better just to be quiet. Just stop talking. Like don't try to, and I'm a poke the bear kind of person anyways. Now part of that, I may never grow out of.
Right.
I think there's a part of that that's important to not grow out of.
As
a leader, I think there has to be that piece of you that's challenging folks. Like and I get it. I mean, we're similar in that way. Like where it's sometimes you're challenging people, sometimes you're just entertaining yourself. I was on a 2-hour Zoom call with family around the country yesterday. A lot of different viewpoints in my extended family, and I honestly approached it in a mindset of, I can either suffer through this and be miserable, or I can just poke a lot and entertain myself. And so I went with B. Yeah. And it was fun. But there was also a maturity to pull back the reins, when it was time to shut the fuck up.
That's right.
So I didn't want to cut you off, but I was thinking about the how you said it's difficult. It's more difficult to be mature. It's just interesting how it always goes back to the thing that's hard is what you should probably do.
Right.
Isn't it though?
It is. It's
true.
true.
If you do what is easy, your life will become hard. If you do what is hard, your life will become easy. That's a pretty good way to live your life. If everything you do on a daily basis is real easy for you, then awesome. You're a big fish in a small pond. You must be killing it in that little pond.
Yep.
But you may be a floating fish.
You're not getting any better, and your life isn't getting any better. It's going to become more difficult as you progress. So mental maturity that was a big one for me is learning how to shut my mouth. Another part of mental maturity is learning how to lose, and we talk about this all the time. Learn how to fail, learn how to lose. Mental maturity in that area. Your first natural reaction when you are beaten or something of that nature is to automatically go to, well, he had a 5-minute head start, or he's been doing this longer than me, or whatever it may be, and we're all guilty of that. Like, please don't, I mean, and still to this day, just like physical, like in CrossFit, I'll get beat by somebody and I'll sit there and go, well, he's 30 pounds lighter than me. And it was a lot of body weight movements and stuff like that. But mental maturity steps in and goes, no. You didn't work hard enough because you got beat. You beat yourself there. You had an opportunity to be better. You had an opportunity to compete. Go shake that man's hand and say, good job, and genuinely mean it. And then turn around and work harder next time. Stop making excuses because you ain't going to be 30 pounds lighter, homeboy.
Right, that part ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't remember where I heard it, but it's that whole rationalized thing. It was just a rational lie.
Exactly.
I want to say it was Jocko or somebody, but I could be making that up. But that has stuck with me more than ever because I've had those tendencies, and we've all had those tendencies to be like, well, there's a reason that this result didn't happen.
He's taller than me.
Yeah, exactly. That's typically what I go to.
Yeah. He's got a longer stride.
He's got a longer stride. Exactly. When I'm running, I'm like, do you remember, how many steps I'm taking compared to you? This is not fair.
You ran 4 miles. I ran 6. You just didn't know.
Exactly right. But it is a rational lie, is all it is. Like you're figuring out a way to make yourself feel better about something you should just take ownership of.
Yep.
That's immaturity.
That's immaturity.
Yep.
My 15-year-old right now, his number one issue is immaturity. It's because he will not take ownership of shit. Yep. And I don't even mind. I would tell him if he was sitting right here. I told him just the other day. That's we got to work on it, man. Like it is not always something else.
Right.
Sometimes it may be. Sometimes there may be some things working against you, which just means you need to go harder, work harder, try harder, get better, whatever to accomplish the same result. But most times, it's just all on you.
But the magic too with that, with what you just said, in extreme ownership, Jocko specifically, is the magic happens when even in those situations where truly, as far as society would be, would consider like that, there's no way it was your fault that happened. Right. Somebody ran into you in a car. You were doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Somebody ran into you. The magic is when you can find in that area where you screwed up and focus on how you fix that. Like
that's why it's called extreme ownership.
That's when you really tighten the ship up.
I could have left 5 seconds earlier and I wouldn't have been there for that car to hit me. Something.
And that's when you start to get to where you have no holes in your armor because even those little chinks.
Well, and you have nothing controlling your destiny either, like where you're going to go. Because if you can sit there and be mature enough to go, there's no way that anything about this is my fault, but I'm still going to own it.
Yeah.
Then you really, truly are controlling the trajectory of your life. Like your maturity level is on a whole nother plane.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. I love that you went to extreme ownership, or I think lack of responsibility is a sign of immaturity. Mm-hmm. When you can take responsibility for your actions, responsibility for your life as it is, because I know a lot of people that they're always like blaming something else or saying there's somebody else's fault. And I mean, you can see some videos of these kids that are being grown up that there's a TikTok video of a black guy. It's like, you just didn't whoop your kid or whatever. He's got a whole song about it. I don't know if y'all have seen that TikTok video about.
Sorry, Chris, we're playing Golden Tee right now.
Yeah, I see that. Thanks. That just shows you that whatever I say does not matter.
We're being mature.
No, that is not true. I'm just testing your mental focus.
This is a word picture
focused,
for our
man.
YouTube listeners, which, by the way, you can go to YouTube right now and subscribe.
And watch this.
I just want to know what your focus is.
My focus is getting through this episode with content and that people can take away that better their life.
Absolutely.
But yeah, mental responsibility. You just taking personal responsibility. And it sums it up is if you take responsibility of your life and take extreme ownership. And if you haven't read that book, go get it. Or sign up online, and we'll give you a book list. That way you can actually, buy it through our link. But anyway, there's a lot to this because a lot of people, they're not raised right. And then they were raised with the trophy mentality of like, you're always going to win in life no matter what. There's no failure. Yep. And the more that parents protect their kids and put them in this bubble of like, you're always going to succeed because they didn't like the way failure stung to them. So they're going to protect their kid from it. You're doing them a disservice. Like when they go into the real world, they're going to be like the kids that you see. They're on social media and on news, picketing and rioting and blowing things up and doing stupid stuff because they don't get their way. And that's not how the world works. It's not about that individual. It's about society and what we can do together as a whole, coming together and be unified. Mental maturity takes that. You got to have responsibility in your life. And if you don't, and you're just saying everything else is something else's fault, you're never going to become anything and nobody's going to be wanting to be around you. Because you're just basically a big baby, really.
I want to go back to the whole, the immaturity of the people that are quote unquote protesting #Bernie shit down for no reason.
Yes.
You got to think about what it would look like for if you're really mature. Josh has used this example before of a dangerous man. A dangerous man is not somebody that's just can kill you or take you out or whatever, incapacitate you. He's somebody that can do that, and he doesn't do it by choice.
Right.
That's a truly dangerous man. Right. So you think about getting slapped in the face and being mature enough to know how you should react. Right. Well, I think it's a drastic difference, and it's a very obvious difference. Some people can take a slap to the face, and they may just stand there and look at you, and they could have killed you 5 times by now. Yep. But the right decision was not to yet, or maybe never.
Right.
Others can hear a word that they have been told should offend them, and will lose their damn minds.
Yep.
Right. And that is if you want to. And sadly, look at our society right now. I think a huge portion of the problem is immaturity.
Yep.
Because they are not controlling their emotions.
Right.
It's an emotionally driven culture that we have right now, and and people are constantly pouring gas on the immature fire.
Mm-hmm. And then some people like to poke that. Like my son struggles with this right now. Where he gets picked on, he gets so emotional about it that they just continue because they're feeding off of his emotions. And I told him the other day, is like, it's a game. I was like, you got to play the game. I was like, you can't go through life getting so upset because once you get upset, they win.
Yeah.
If you think about that, you get upset, the other person who's upsetting you wins. But if you can keep your calm and keep your cool and show them that they don't affect you, they lose. And that's how you win.
And another shortcut to winning that game is a knee right in the crotch.
Yeah. and that's where he gets his hitting. He hits too much. And it's like, you can't do that.
You got to know when.
You got to know when.
But certainly,
yeah.
As a 5-year-old.
I certainly think that one of the biggest benefits, outside of your own personal growth and progression in life with mental maturity, is the fact of not being able to be controlled. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to, being educated and being ignorant. An ignorant society, or what we call sheep nowadays, is very easily manipulated and controlled. And Cam, to your example, a lot of those individuals don't care about the facts. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about what's actually going on. What they do is they look at a certain entity, and they're easily influenced because they're mentally immature, because a mentally mature person, for one, wouldn't be burning shit down. A mentally mature person would be doing something that is effective for their community or whatever it is they're standing up for to make a change. Whereas in those situations, it's very obvious when, if your whole movement is for, Black Lives Matter because black people are being killed, but then you're burning down black-owned businesses and stuff. I don't understand. And maybe I'm mentally immature on that side of the fence, and somebody can educate me on why that makes any kind of sense whatsoever.
At Shepherds of Men is where you can educate
right?
us.
Yeah, you more than willing to listen. But the point is, a mentally mature person is very difficult to control. And if you are a good leader, you're looking for people that are mentally mature because you're not looking to control people. You're looking to have that interdependence with them and utilize their strengths. And like we were talking about, like a virtuous, a real man embodies virtues, and a virtuous man is a man that is extremely dangerous, but chooses not to act on his abilities to do that stuff. It's like, a virtuous man has a sword, but he keeps it sheathed. He chooses to keep it that way. So you're dangerous, but you choose not to use it. Anytime you ever look at any kind of man that is a bad mofo, like even in the movies and stuff like that, men are naturally attracted to that. You look at John Wick, you look at guys like that and stuff. And when you look at John Wick, you don't go, oh man, that dude's mentally immature.
Right.
The first thing I would say is that guy's mental maturity's through the roof.
Right.
I mean, the guy's discipline, mental maturity, all those things are exactly where they need to be at. And he is dangerous as hell when he needs to be.
Let's talk about this because this is another hot topic, the whole gun control thing, which I am. And I know we're.
No, you're good. Let's bring it on,
dude. Like this pushes some buttons like crazy. And if you think about what JP just said, and I've been saying this for years now with this whole gun control BS, is people are focusing on the wrong thing. They're focusing on assuming, like, let's just allow people to continue to be immature, and we're going to try to control the guns, as opposed to let's build people to be mature adults.
Right.
Right? Why are they focusing on controlling the guns? Because that's easier.
Right.
That's easier to do than to actually take the time to parent and lead and create mature men and women that can safely carry a weapon for personal protection from enemies, individual enemies, I don't know, MMEs,
M&Ms,
or honestly from personal protection from the government. I mean, that is truly what the Second Amendment was put there for, was to be able to create a militia in case people got too big for their britches and decided they want to control you again.
Yeah,
but that's only for muskets.
Right, yeah, only for muskets. That's because that's all they had then.
I heard something that said, well, with your freedom of speech, when you start sending stuff through carrier pigeons and on the Pony Express, then we'll have a conversation.
Right. Exactly right. Yeah, yeah. You can't use Instagram because they didn't write it for that.
Yeah, your freedom of speech was not intended for technology.
No, for sure, for sure. Well, the double standard. If it wasn't for that, there wouldn't be one at all, right?
That's right.
But that, and when you're saying that about keeping your sword sheathed and all that thing, I think about how many the people that I know that understand weaponry and then understand, carrying a piece, so to speak, just so we keep it hood. There's a maturity level there. The way I was taught, like you didn't get one until you were mature enough to have one.
Correct.
Like it was not allowed.
But you were trained too by somebody.
Exactly.
So and I was going to say, thinking about that, you look at the Asian cultures, a lot of them are mandatory that you have to know martial arts. And I think most martial arts and physical activity is going to mature you into a level that you don't know. And
mental discipline.
And seeing you rise to a level of like, oh, dude, I just got my black belt. I mean, that's an accomplishment in itself. So American society doesn't push any one direction. It gives you the freedom, and that freedom is a double-edged sword too, because some people are going to take that freedom and go, I'm going to be a lazy mofo. And then some people are going to go, I'm not going to be lazy. I'm going to actually succeed. And that's why there's such a divide there. In the mental maturity side, because other cultures are holding your hand and forcing you to do that. And then the rate we're going as America, when you give up your freedoms of your choice to give to somebody else to tell you what you're going to do, that's what you're dealing with, because you're not mentally mature to say, I can handle my own life. A lot of the people that fall into the government, I want the government to tell me what to do, is because they're not mentally mature to say, I can control my own self.
Well, and part of that came from and we'll put it on the men because that's ultimately where it falls. Is part of it came from there was a lack of responsibility from fathers to train up the next generation, and it just kept getting a little further off, and a little further off, and a little further off, and a little further off until
it started with the Industrial Revolution, where men went to work and away from their family, and it continued to go because they're exhausted at their workplace because the workplace is pretty exhausting at that time. They come back home and they just don't have anything else to give, which is a cop-out. You do have extra to give, and it's your responsibility no matter how hard you're working. And if you're working that hard, you may need to reevaluate your life. You may reevaluate what you're doing for a living, or go to your boss and say, dude, make some sort of agreement, that you're not working overtime and extra hours or whatever because your family is suffering. Or whenever you do have those days, you be intentional.
Well, and I think, so two things here, just listening to you guys talking about that. So the first part of it is just based off, the last episode that we talked about, people can be, telling themselves, being 100% honest with themselves and still be telling a fucking lie. If those people that were so against guns actually knew the truth about how many people around them every single day were packing,
right.
Their truth may change a little bit.
Right.
Like, holy shit, when you put it into context, you mean to tell me there was one school shooting that I am convinced is just a ploy to take guns from people? Because it's amazing now that this talk comes up again, all these random shootings start happening. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so don't take it that direction, but it does seem pretty odd. But the fact of the matter is, when those people that think they're being honest with themselves that these guns that are in society are causing all these problems realize the truth is you just passed, I don't know, 100 people today that had a 9mm strapped to their side. You didn't even know it.
None of them jumped out and shot you.
That's when you start to realize what the truth is, behind that stuff. Now, on the other side of it, like what you were just talking about, Wilson, I believe part of it is societal, men not fulfilling their responsibilities as men. But I also think that we have, and you said martial arts and physical, labor and different things of that nature that start to create mental toughness and mental maturity. But when society decided that masculinity was toxic, when society decided that being a man was a bad thing and started making men feel guilty for being dangerous, that's when we started to have a problem, because now men are so conflicted that they don't know how they're supposed to live. Like, am I supposed to be masculine? Am I supposed to grow a beard? Shut up.
Yes, Josh.
Am I supposed to be, whatever? And if I do, now, because some men will say, fuck it, right?
Yeah.
Some men are like, I don't give a shit what you think, which is great.
Right.
And I think that's important. But there is a percentage of men out there that are like, the people pleaser kind of community of men, which is not a bad thing, but they're like, I don't want to hurt people's feelings and have people look at me differently, like I'm a bad guy because I voted for Trump and I've got, American flag out in front of my house and a jacked up truck. And I want to be a man. I want to shoot guns and have my kids shooting guns and stuff like that. I don't want people looking at me bad. Now, most people that live that kind of lifestyle kind of live it with a finger in the air.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really give a shit what you think. But the vilification, I don't even know if that's a word, vilification
it is now if it wasn't.
of masculinity in men is one of the driving factors for mental maturity with men, because men just stay immature. They're like, I don't know, am I supposed to be like kind of like, I'm not supposed to be manly, I'm not supposed to be hard, I'm supposed to be like soft and whatever. And I think that causes a huge issue within society, because now there's no, I don't want to say hierarchy, but there's no leadership structure that comes to the households and stuff like that. Because as a man, some of these guys are confused. I'm not supposed to be the leader of my house.
Well,
woman could be the leader of my house.
Right.
Let's talk about that from a maturity level.
Yeah.
Like the whole roles. This is what freaks me out. I know people say, well, yeah, because you're a man and that's it makes sense for you to say that. But listen, I don't think the roles are, I personally believe that the man's role is most important because that's the one I have to play, and so I take responsibility for that. So I have, in my mind, that has to be most important because it's the one I can control the most. But my wife's role in our household is just as important. Like her for our kids, just as important, So when people get these roles mixed up, they're like, well, a man's not more important than a woman's not more. They're different. Right. We're supposed to do different things. It's okay. Like, I do not understand this immaturity in society right now that says, well, a woman's just as good as a man at that. Why? Why does she have to be? Mm-hmm. Why does she have to be? I'm not as good as my wife is at certain things because she was made to be better at certain things. I can't squeeze a baby out of my vagina like she can. Can't do it. Right? I mean, it's an extreme example. Well, I mean, we're not going to get into my personal life. but that's what I'm saying.
We're not going to get into anything.
But this is how stupid it is.
Right,
It's like, why do we have to be equal?
No,
why?
we don't need to be.
We are intentionally unequal. Not for value.
Right.
We're not unequal on on a value scale. We're unequal in different arenas of life on purpose because they have to be. We have to complement. It's like it's nature. Like look anywhere, it has to happen for it to work. When you start saying, "Well, we want the girls to be just like the guys here, and we want the guys to be just like the girls here," that's an immature ass mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and that's why you're absolutely right. So complementary of each other is what they are. They're meant to complete each other. That's why so many family units are so fucked up because they don't know how to complete each other because they're competing with each other.
Which one am I supposed to be? Go use the bathroom, and that should tell you.
Yeah, exactly. and that goes for your household. You said it the way that it needs to be. I am a firm believer that the man of the household needs to be the head of the household, which is a responsibility for you, not a privilege for you. It is a responsibility.
It shouldn't be the most fun position.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. You are the most responsible in the house for everything that happens. If your wife does something wrong, it's your fault.
Right.
And that comes from the good book. God didn't go to Eve and go, "Why'd you eat the apple?"
Yeah.
Right.
It was the man.
Look, the man said, "Why'd you let her?"
No.
God said, "Adam, where are you?"
Yeah.
Right.
And he was standing right there being passive.
And that's exactly right. But, that's
he was first. It's just like your firstborn. You're supposed to set the example for the rest of the kids because you're the firstborn, and that sucks, but you have that responsibility, but it's also a blessing because it's going to get you to become better, or should, unless you take the victim road and you're like, it's not fair because I'm the first.
I use that like crazy on my 5-year-old. Like just yesterday, he started crying at the park for whatever because we were leaving and he didn't want to go.
Right.
And I go like, "Don't you let your little brother see you crying because we're leaving."
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like,
Clean it up.
And he won't. Like
okay.
again, I tell him all the time. I was like, "Your little brother's going to do what you do, so you have a responsibility to be a good example." I tell him all the time.
And
like that's a lot of pressure for a 5-year-old. Good.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that in a good, mature marriage, both of you are coming together to settle your indifferences and talk about what your roles are. You set that for your own home. But as a man, you have to lead. And the reason why it falls on the man is a woman is emotionally attached to the decisions they make. Men are not. We can literally make a decision, and if it's the wrong decision or right decision, it doesn't matter. We don't lose sleep. If a woman made that decision and that's the trajectory of that where we go, and it was a bad decision, they would wreck their life. They would just
thinking about it.
They would be still thinking about it forever. Yeah. And a man can literally fall asleep and the next day go, "What the hell just happened? Okay, cool. We're just going." And it's just
fuck that up. Let's start over. It's
just how we're wired, and that's the beautiful thing about it. Because then women have that intuition, in which is going based off your feelings. That's very important in a marriage. And so the man is stupid if they don't go and confide in their wife. They're very dumb. Whenever they're going to make a decision, they need to look at the facts, look at the logic, and then go, "Hey, what does your gut tell you about this decision? And this is the way we're going to go." And then you pray about it or meditate on it and think about it. Don't make a rash decision the day of. You sleep on it. The very next day, if you still feel convicted that that's the route to go, then follow your conviction and then just make a decision and make it the right decision. That's mental maturity. And then take ownership of anything that happens, and do not put that on your wife or anybody else just because she gave you her gut feeling of how she felt and you took that direction and now it didn't go right. You're a dumbass if you go back to her and say, "Why did you make me go this way?" It's not her fault. It's yours. You were the man of the house. Take ownership. And that's mental maturity in a marriage. And if you're not doing that, correct it. Stop it. If you're giving any negative to your wife whatsoever, stop it. If you can't say something positive, she connects to the words more so than what we do. You could tell us anything you want. We can have a fist fight today, and tomorrow we're best friends. Girls can't do that. You fist fight with those two, they're enemies for life. And that's the fact of it. So when you as a man are telling your wife that she's negative or some dumb, stupid stuff that's breaking her down, she's never going to let that go. And it's going to be a lot of you digging yourself out of that hole. And I had to learn that the hard way. And I'm telling you, man, control your words. That's mental maturity too, in its essence. Controlling what you say, what you do. Girls take it as feeling. They feel the words when you speak. And if you continue to come at them, they're going to find somebody that's giving them good, positive words and uplifting words. And then that's how infidelity happens. Is because you are not filling her cup in the right way. So
I love it.
Anything else to add?
I fill my wife's cup.
Good. You should every single day. And it's hard
and
sometimes.
she feels my words.
She feels your words.
She feels my words.
And we all struggle in this, man. I mean, we're not infallible. We here at this
Speak
table.
for yourself. I got it nailed.
Yeah. Well, speaking of this table, and I know we come at you with a lot of stuff, and we're all growing in this process. And I'm learning as I speak. Just teaching and talking about certain things.
Damn, I'm pretty smart.
This is good. It's good shit, and it's come from the heart because I care about the listeners. As men, you should have a good wife and good family, and you can control and cultivate that environment. It's your responsibility. It's mental maturity to figure out what your deficiencies are and find out what you need to do to change. Because if it's something's going wrong in your family, it's really it comes to me. Like if something's going on in my life and in my family and my son, and we're not getting the results we're looking for, I don't look at her as the blame. I look at me and say, okay, what can I do that's going to be better? And that's hard. That's really, really hard, dude. To really take that full responsibility and go, it's not her fucking fault when she's moody and swinging, had this attitude and this dude. And it's like, I got to bite my tongue a lot and be like, and sometimes it's easier to just to walk away, let her cool off, come back. But then sometimes I'm like, we're fix-its, man. I want to be like, I can't sleep that night if she's mad at me, if she's upset. I want to know what's going on, especially if it's my fault or if it's up to me. Now, if it's something else she's dealing with, it's like, cool. We're good.
Sometimes I bite my tongue, and other times I just bite my lip and wink at her.
Yeah.
And different results, but I like them both.
I was just lick my eyebrows, and everything's good.
Yeah. Oh, man, what a move.
Part my hair with my tongue.
Rico Suave. I was going to say, just from a maturity standpoint, is taking action on it. So, we talk a lot about our Men Reforged program.
Yes.
Like, be mature enough to go, I don't have all this figured out. Just like what we're talking about. We're being very vulnerable. Every week we get on here, we're very vulnerable about what we don't have figured out. Now, we're opinionated too, but take responsibility, be mature enough to do something about being a better man. And really look into it seriously. Like there was some things that we had to do just within this year where we had to be mature enough to go, okay, we've got some things figured out with Shepherds of Men and some things that we're doing, but we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And if we really want to have the impact and the platform that we expect to have and the vision that we have, we may need to make some different decisions, make some investments in ourselves, in the company, and those different things. And we had to be mature enough to go, let's do that. And it has made all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and that's why we chose the word mastery with a lot of the stuff that you'll be seeing within that program, is because ultimately we understand that mastery is the key to maturity, and it's really going to help you out in a lot of those areas.
So that's why we put a lot of dedication and focus on the last few months on the Men Reforged program, and it's really it has you in mind. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, man, how can I take myself to the next level? Or you have some deficiencies. You don't know what you don't know, and you have a father figure that wasn't there, or you did have one that was giving you a bad example, or whatever life has dealt to you and given you. It's up to you ultimately to make the right decision. And you making the right decision by going to shepherdsofmen.com or shepherdsof.men. Either one will direct you to our landing page to give you more inside secrets of what can take you to the next level. And then there is a mastery program that we are doing that allows you to be involved with the Men Reforged. And I tell you, take the leap of faith. Just give us your time, and we will help you become a better man. So go click on that link, go check us out, and you've been a part of the loop.